What if I told you that some of the nuts you've been eating your entire life are actually sabotaging your brain health right now? And what if I told you that making one simple swap could potentially add years to your cognitive function? Look, I rarely make videos this direct, but after seeing what happened to my own father, I couldn't stay silent anymore. Stay until the end because I'm going to share the exact morning ritual that's helping thousands of seniors reclaim their mental clarity. Something the food industry doesn't want you to know. Hidden truth. I need you to understand something profound that almost no one is talking about. As we age, our bodies process foods differently, especially nuts. What was once nourishing in your 40s and 50s can become problematic in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. This isn't about allergies or sensitivities. This is about a deeper biochemical shift that happens in our bodies as we age, particularly affecting how we metabolize certain fatty acids and compounds found in specific nuts. The research on this has been quietly emerging over the past decade, but it rarely makes headlines because, let's be honest, there's no profit in telling people to avoid certain foods. The health food industry wants you buying everything on the shelf without discrimination. But I'm here to tell you what your doctor probably hasn't. That for seniors especially, nut selection matters tremendously for brain health, heart function, and overall longevity. What you're about to learn changed everything for my family, and I believe it could do the same for you or your loved ones. Personal revelation. 3 years ago, my father started forgetting things. Small things at first, where he put his keys, a neighbor's name, what day of the week it was. We all laughed it off as typical senior moments. He was 73 after all, but then came a morning he called me, confused about how to make his morning coffee, something he'd done every day for 50 years. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. The doctors ran tests, talked about normal cognitive decline, and offered little hope besides medication with side effects that seemed worse than the problem. I refused to accept that this brilliant man, who had built his own business, raised 3 children, and could once recite poetry from memory, was simply destined to lose his mind piece by piece. So, I dove deep into research, connecting with longevity specialists and neurologists who work outside the mainstream medical system. What I discovered about the connection between certain foods and brain inflammation changed everything, especially when it came to nuts, which had always been a staple of my father's supposedly heart-healthy diet. Silent danger. Here's what most people don't realize. Not all nuts are created equal, and some can actually accelerate cognitive decline in seniors due to their specific fatty acid profiles and inflammatory properties. The first nut seniors should approach with caution is the cashew. Though delicious and seemingly innocent, cashews have one of the highest carbohydrate contents among nuts, which can cause problematic blood sugar spikes in older adults whose insulin sensitivity has naturally decreased. These blood sugar fluctuations have been directly linked to increased brain fog and cognitive impairment over time. Additionally, cashews contain oxalates, compounds that can contribute to inflammation in vulnerable individuals, particularly those over 65 whose detoxification pathways aren't functioning as efficiently as they once did. This inflammation doesn't just stay in the gut. It travels throughout the body and can affect brain tissue, contributing to cognitive decline that many mistake as just getting older. But there's nothing just about losing your memories, your personality, your very self. Unexpected threat. The second nut on our caution list might surprise you. Peanuts. Technically legumes rather than true nuts. Peanuts present several concerns for seniors focusing on brain health. First, they're one of the most common sources of aflatoxins, microscopic toxins produced by fungi that can grow on peanuts. As we age, our ability to clear these toxins diminishes, allowing them to accumulate and potentially contribute to neurological stress. Studies have shown correlations between long-term aflatoxin exposure and cognitive impairment, particularly in seniors with already compromised immune systems. Beyond that, peanuts have an imbalanced omega-3 to omega-6 ratio that tend to promote inflammation rather than reduce it. For the aging brain, which is already fighting an uphill battle against natural inflammatory processes, this additional inflammatory load from a daily peanut habit can accelerate cognitive challenges. I watched my father struggle to remember his grandchildren's names while consuming handfuls of peanuts daily as his healthy snack. The connection became impossible to ignore. Hidden harm. The third nut seniors should reconsider is a Brazil nut, but with an important caveat. While Brazil nuts are extraordinary sources of selenium, a powerful antioxidant essential for brain health, their benefit quickly becomes a liability with overconsumption. Just 2 Brazil nuts can provide over 100% of your daily selenium needs. For seniors regularly eating handfuls, this can lead to selenium toxicity, with symptoms including nausea, irritability, and, in severe cases, nerve damage that mimics early dementia symptoms. I've seen well-intentioned seniors include Brazil nuts daily in their diet without realizing they're potentially overdosing on selenium. The cognitive effect of this overdose can be particularly confusing because they often present as memory issues or mood changes, things typically attributed to just getting older rather than a correctable dietary issue. This is especially concerning because these symptoms are rarely connected back to what seems like such a healthy food choice. Surprising risk. The fourth nut requiring caution might be the most controversial on this list. Conventional almonds. While almonds themselves offer tremendous benefits, the problem lies in how commercially grown almonds are processed. In many countries, most undergo chemical treatments and fumigation processes that leave residue seniors' aging detoxification systems struggle to clear efficiently. These chemical burdens can contribute to what neurologists now call toxic load syndrome, a state where accumulated environmental toxins begin affecting cognitive function. Seniors are particularly vulnerable as their blood-brain barrier becomes more permeable with age, allowing these toxins easier access to delicate neural tissue. Additionally, conventional almonds often contain higher levels of inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids due to modern farming practices, creating another potential source of brain inflammation. When my father switched from conventional to organic, truly raw almonds as part of his brain health protocol, we noticed improvements in his alertness within weeks, something his doctors had claimed would be impossible. Vital shift. Now, let's talk about transformation. When my father began eliminating these problematic nuts and introducing the 4 brain-boosting alternatives I'm about to share, we witnessed changes the medical establishment had told us were impossible. His brain fog began lifting. His memory lapses became less frequent. His personality, that distinctive spark that makes someone who they are, began returning. The doctor who had told us his decline was just part of aging couldn't explain the improvements in his cognitive tests 6 months later. But we knew. We discovered what cutting-edge neurologists and longevity specialists are only beginning to understand, that specific foods have specific effects on the aging brain, and making strategic swaps can quite literally change the trajectory of cognitive aging. This isn't about miracle cures. It's about working with your body's changing biochemistry to give your brain exactly what it needs while avoiding what harms it. Ancient wisdom. What's fascinating is that much of what modern nutritional science is discovering about brain health was understood in ancient healing traditions centuries ago. In traditional Chinese medicine, certain nuts were specifically prescribed for elders to maintain what they called shen, essentially cognitive clarity and spirit. The pattern of which nuts were recommended closely matches what our modern research is confirming about anti-inflammatory compounds and brain-specific nutrients. Similarly, Ayurvedic medicine from India categorized nuts according to their effects on the aging body, with recommendations that align surprisingly well with current findings about which nuts support neurological health in seniors. It seems our ancestors intuitively understood connections that we're only now confirming through science. This integration of ancient wisdom with cutting-edge research forms the foundation of the recommendations I'm about to share, recommendations that helped my father regain cognitive function when conventional medicine offered no hope. Brain revival. Let me introduce you to the first brain-boosting nut that should become a daily staple for every senior concerned about cognitive health. Walnuts. There's a reason these nuts literally resemble tiny brains. They're nature's perfect food for cognitive function. Walnuts contain the highest amount of alpha-linolenic acid, ELA, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid of any nut. This specific form of omega-3 has been shown to cross the blood-brain barrier effectively, nourishing neural tissue and promoting the formation of new neural connections, even in aging brains that were once thought to be relatively fixed in their architecture. A landmark study from UCLA demonstrated that walnut consumption specifically correlated with improved cognitive testing in seniors, independent of other factors. Additionally, walnuts contain powerful antioxidants that help neutralize free radical damage in brain cells, damage that accelerates dramatically as we age. When my father began consuming just 7 walnuts daily, we noticed improvements in his verbal fluency and recall within weeks. The research suggests this wasn't coincidence, but rather his brain responding to precisely what had been lacking: cellular protection. The second nut that deserves a permanent place in every senior's diet is the pecan, often overlooked in favor of more exotic options. Pecans contain unique forms of antioxidants called proanthocyanidins that have demonstrated remarkable effects on protecting aging brain cells. These compounds have a particular affinity for neural tissue, helping shield delicate brain structures from the oxidative damage that accelerates cognitive decline. What makes pecans especially valuable for seniors is their impressive vitamin E content, a nutrient that becomes increasingly critical for brain health after age 65. Multiple longitudinal studies have demonstrated that sufficient vitamin E intake correlates strongly with preserved cognitive function in old age. Yet over 90% of seniors are deficient in this crucial nutrient. Pecans also contain monounsaturated fats that support healthy blood flow, essential for delivering oxygen and nutrients to the brain. When my father added a small handful of pecans to his morning routine alongside the walnuts, his neurologist noted improvements in his processing speed that contradicted all expectations for someone with his initial diagnosis. Memory boost. The third nut that deserves recognition for its remarkable brain protective properties is the pistachio. These distinctive green nuts contain compounds that specifically support vascular health, critically important since healthy blood vessels are essential for cognitive function. The combination of antioxidants, B vitamins, and specific plant compounds in pistachios helps maintain the integrity of the tiny blood vessels that feed brain tissue. As we age, these small vessels often become damaged through processes like glycation and oxidation, leading to reduced cerebral blood flow and the silent mini-strokes that contribute significantly to cognitive decline. Regular pistachio consumption has been associated with improved blood lipid profiles and better vasodilation, the ability of blood vessels to expand appropriately to deliver optimal blood flow exactly where it's needed. Additionally, pistachios contain lutein and zeaxanthin, carotenoids typically associated with eye health, but now recognized for their role in preserving cognitive function as well. The brain-eye connection is profound, and these nutrients support both systems simultaneously. Neurological treasure. The fourth nut that rounds out our brain-boosting protocol is perhaps the most underappreciated in Western nutrition, the humble pine nut. These small, elongated nuts have been prized in traditional medicine systems for millennia, specifically for their effects on brain health and cognitive longevity. Modern research confirms our ancestors' wisdom. Pine nuts contain exceptional levels of pinolenic acid, a rare fatty acid that helps regulate inflammation through multiple pathways. For seniors, whose brain inflammation typically increases with age, this natural anti-inflammatory effect can be transformative. Pine nuts also provide substantial levels of manganese, a mineral essential for mitochondrial function in brain cells. Mitochondria are the power plant of your cells, and their efficiency decreases naturally with age, but proper nutrition can significantly slow this decline. During my father's recovery journey, adding just a tablespoon of pine nuts daily to his regimen coincided with notable improvements in his energy levels and mental endurance. He could focus longer without becoming mentally fatigued, a common challenge in cognitive decline. Morning ritual. Now, let me share the exact morning ritual that transformed my father's cognitive health, a simple practice anyone can implement, regardless of culinary skill or time constraints. This isn't complicated, and that's precisely the point. The most powerful interventions are often the most sustainable ones. Each morning, he combines 1 tablespoon each of freshly ground walnuts, pecans, pistachios, and pine nuts, what we now call a cognitive quartet. He adds this mixture to organic plain yogurt, along with a teaspoon of high-quality honey, local and raw if possible, and a small sprinkle of Ceylon cinnamon, which has its own impressive research backing for brain health. This simple combination provides his aging brain with the precise nutrients it needs to fight inflammation, support new neural connections, protect existing structures, and optimize blood flow to the brain. The yogurt's healthy bacteria support gut health, which research increasingly shows is directly connected to brain function to the gut-brain axis. The entire preparation takes less than 3 minutes, but delivers benefits that last all day: sustained energy, improved recall, better mood stability, and gradual restoration of cognitive functions we have been told were permanently lost. Scientific foundation. I want to be completely transparent about the science behind these recommendations, because understanding why is just as important as knowing what to do. The brain protective effects of the nuts I've recommended stem from multiple mechanisms working synergistically. First, they all provide complementary antioxidants that help neutralize the free radical damage that accelerates dramatically in the aging brain. Second, they deliver specific fatty acids that serve as building blocks for neural membranes and myelin sheaths, the protective coatings around nerve fibers that often deteriorate with age. Third, they contain compounds that modulate neuroinflammation through multiple biochemical pathways, addressing one of the primary drivers of cognitive decline. Fourth, they provide nutrients that support healthy cerebrovascular function, ensuring optimal blood flow to brain tissues. And fifth, they contain compounds that have been shown to promote neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections and adapt, which was once thought to diminish significantly with age, but is now understood to remain viable throughout life with proper support. This comprehensive approach addresses not just one aspect of brain aging, but the entire interconnected system, beyond numbers. What I'm sharing goes beyond research papers and clinical trials, though those certainly validate our approach. The real proof came in watching my father gradually return to himself. 6 months after implementing these changes, he called me one morning, excited to tell me about a dream he'd had, a dream where he remembered details from his childhood with perfect clarity. "I thought those memories were gone forever," he told me, his voice breaking. "But they were just waiting for me to find them again." 3 months later, he independently remembered all his grandchildren's birthdays, information that had been completely inaccessible to him a year earlier. At his next cognitive assessment, his doctor was so surprised by the improvements that he asked for a detailed record of everything we changed. When we explained our protocol, he was skeptical at first, but couldn't deny the results reflected in the testing. "Whatever you're doing," he finally admitted, "keep doing it." Now, 2 years later, my father leads a brain health support group in his community, sharing his journey and helping other seniors implement these same strategies. The man who once couldn't remember how to make coffee now remembers complex details from medical journals he reads to stay informed about brain health. Societal blind spot. There's something profoundly disturbing about how we, as a society, approach cognitive decline in our seniors. We've normalized memory loss, confusion, and diminished mental capacity as just part of getting older, as though losing one's mind is an inevitable tax on longevity. This fatalistic view serves no one except perhaps industries that profit from dependency and decline. The truth emerging from cutting-edge research in neuroplasticity and nutritional neuroscience tells a very different story. That significant aspects of cognitive decline may be preventable and, in some cases, partially reversible through precise nutritional interventions and lifestyle modifications. While genetics and accumulated lifetime factors certainly play a role, the brain's remarkable ability to adapt and respond to appropriate nourishment remains intact well into our later years. My father's journey stands as living proof that accepting cognitive decline as inevitable does a tremendous disservice to millions of seniors who might benefit from interventions as simple as changing which nuts they consume daily. Implementation wisdom. Now, let me address some practical aspects of implementing these changes, because theory without application changes nothing. First, quality matters tremendously. Opt for organic versions of these nuts whenever possible, especially for walnuts and pecans, which are among the crops most heavily treated with pesticides. Second, freshness is crucial. The beneficial oils in nuts are delicate and can become rancid when exposed to heat, light, and oxygen for extended periods. Buy nuts in small quantities. Store them in airtight containers in a refrigerator, and consider freezing portions you won't use within a month. Third, activation through soaking can significantly increase nutrient bioavailability. Simply soaking nuts in filtered water for 6 to 8 hours removes enzyme inhibitors that can interfere with digestion and nutrient absorption, particularly important for seniors whose digestive efficiency has naturally decreased. Fourth, Grinding nuts immediately before consumption ensures maximum nutrient preservation and enhanced digestibility. A simple coffee grinder reserved exclusively for nuts makes this process quick and easy. And fifth, consistency matters more than quantity. Small daily amounts deliver more benefit than larger amounts consumed sporadically. Common misconceptions. Before continuing, I need to address some common myths that might prevent people from implementing these recommendations effectively. First, the notion that all nuts are created equal in terms of health benefits. As we discussed, the specific nutrient profiles and compounds in different nuts have dramatically different effects on the aging brain. Second, the misconception that raw nuts are always better than roasted. While raw nuts preserve certain heat-sensitive nutrients, light roasting can actually increase the bioavailability of other compounds. The key is avoiding high-temperature commercial roasting processes. Third, the belief that organic only matters for fruits and vegetables, but not for nuts. In reality, the high oil content in nuts makes them particularly effective at absorbing and concentrating pesticides, making organic options significantly preferable for brain health. Fourth, the idea that nut allergies mean all these benefits are inaccessible. Many people with allergies to certain nuts can safely consume others from different botanical families. And fifth, the misconception that these nutritional approaches are somehow opposed to conventional medical care. In reality, they complement proper medical treatment, and any senior with cognitive concerns should work with healthcare providers while implementing nutritional strategies. Deeper context. What makes these specific dietary interventions so powerful is how precisely they address the unique challenges of the aging brain. As we reach our senior years, several critical changes occur that aren't adequately addressed by general nutritional advice. The blood-brain barrier becomes more permeable, allowing more toxins and inflammatory compounds to reach neural tissue. Mitochondrial efficiency declines, reducing energy available to brain cells. Production of acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter essential for memory and learning, diminishes significantly. Neuroinflammation increases through multiple pathways. And, perhaps most importantly, brain tissues become more vulnerable to oxidative damage, while simultaneously producing more free radicals through normal metabolism. Each of the recommended nuts contains compounds that specifically address these age-related changes. Walnuts provide ALA that helps maintain membrane integrity in neural cells. Pecans deliver unique antioxidants that neutralize the specific free radicals most damaging to brain tissue. Pistachios support vascular health that ensures adequate blood flow to the brain. And pine nuts provide anti-inflammatory compounds that help control the neuroinflammation that accelerates cognitive decline. Global perspective. It's fascinating to observe that cultures with traditionally low rates of cognitive decline often include these specific nuts regularly in their traditional cuisines. Mediterranean communities, where walnut consumption is among the highest in the world, demonstrate remarkable cognitive resilience into old age. Certain regions in China, where pine nuts have been valued as longevity foods for centuries, show similar patterns of preserved cognitive function. Indigenous populations in North America, who traditionally consume pecans regularly, have documented histories of elders maintaining exceptional mental clarity into advanced age. These observations from diverse traditional cultures provide real-world validation for what controlled studies are now confirming, that specific foods can significantly influence cognitive trajectories in aging populations. While correlation doesn't prove causation, these consistent patterns across diverse genetic populations suggest something fundamentally protective about these specific dietary elements, something modern science is only beginning to fully understand. Practical application. Let me share some practical ways to incorporate these brain-boosting nuts into your daily routine beyond the morning ritual I described earlier. For those who don't enjoy yogurt, the ground nut mixture can be blended into a morning smoothie with berries, themselves powerful brain foods, and a non-dairy milk like almond or oat milk. Another option is to stir the ground nuts into oatmeal along with cinnamon and perhaps a few blueberries for additional brain benefits. For lunch, a tablespoon or two of the mixture can be sprinkled over salads, providing not just brain nutrition, but a satisfying crunch and flavor enhancement. Some seniors find it helpful to make a weekly batch of energy balls, Combining the ground nuts with a small amount of honey, cinnamon, and perhaps dried cherries or blueberries, creating convenient, portion-controlled brain food they can enjoy as snacks throughout the day. The key is finding preparations that are enjoyable and sustainable, as consistency delivers the greatest benefit. Even the most nutritious foods provide little value if they remain uneaten because of unpleasant taste or inconvenient preparation. Holistic context. While our focus today has been on nuts specifically, I would be remiss not to place these recommendations within the broader context of brain-healthy living. The benefits of these nuts are amplified when combined with other elements of a neuroprotective lifestyle: regular physical activity that increases blood flow to the brain, quality sleep that allows for essential neural maintenance and memory consolidation, stress management practices that reduce cortisol's damaging effects on brain structures, cognitive stimulation through learning new skills and solving novel problems, and social engagement that provides emotional support and complex, interpersonal interactions that exercise multiple brain regions simultaneously. My father's remarkable improvement came not just from changing which nuts he ate, but from embedding those nutritional changes within a comprehensive approach to brain health that addressed all these factors. The nuts provided essential building blocks, but the complete lifestyle approach created the conditions for his brain to utilize those nutrients optimally. Moving forward, as you consider implementing these recommendations, I encourage a patient, observant approach. Cognitive health doesn't typically change overnight. Just as decline usually happens gradually, improvements typically unfold over weeks and months rather than days. Keep a simple journal noting changes in specific aspects of cognitive function: ability to recall names or words, navigation skills, concentration duration, mental energy levels, mood stability, and sleep quality, which often improves alongside cognitive function. These observations provide valuable feedback about what's working and what might need adjustment. For some seniors, the full protocol I've described produces noticeable benefits within weeks. For others with more entrenched cognitive challenges, it may take 3 to 6 months before significant improvements become apparent. The variables affecting response time include existing nutritional status, overall health conditions, medication interactions, gut health and absorption efficiency, and the duration and severity of cognitive issues prior to intervention. Patience and persistence are essential allies in this journey. Empowering truth. As we begin to conclude, I want to share perhaps the most important understanding that emerged from my family's journey through cognitive decline and recovery. Agency exists even where we've been told it doesn't. The prevailing narrative about brain aging, that decline is inevitable and largely untreatable, serves as a self-fulfilling prophecy for millions of seniors who accept diminishing function as their unavoidable fate. This narrative persists not because it's scientifically valid, but because it's convenient for systems unprepared to support cognitive optimization in our aging population. The truth is far more empowering. While we cannot control all aspects of brain aging, we have significant influence over many of the factors that determine cognitive trajectories. Something as simple as mindfully selecting which nuts to include or avoid in your daily diet can initiate biochemical cascades with profound effects on brain function. My father's story isn't miraculous or exceptional. It simply demonstrates what becomes possible when we reject fatalistic assumptions about aging and instead make informed, intentional choices based on emerging science combined with traditional wisdom about nourishing the aging brain. Closing insight. Let me leave you with this final thought, one that fundamentally changed how I view aging and brain health. The human brain, regardless of age, remains remarkably responsive to how we treat it. Until my father's last day, his neural networks will continue to adapt, form new connections, and respond to the inputs he provides, whether those inputs nourish or damage his cognitive capacity. The same is true for each of us and for every senior we care about. This plastic, adaptable quality of our brains never fully disappears, though it may require more precise, consistent support as we age. The 4 nuts to avoid: cashews, peanuts, excessive Brazil nuts, and conventional almonds, can create inflammatory and toxic burdens that accelerate cognitive decline. The 4 nuts to embrace: walnuts, pecans, pistachios, and pine nuts, provide specific compounds that support neural health, reduce inflammation, protect against oxidative damage, and promote healthy blood flow to the brain. This knowledge isn't just interesting information. It's a powerful tool for anyone concerned about maintaining or improving cognitive function in their senior years. What we do consistently, day after day, gradually reshapes our brain health destiny. Every morning when my father prepares his nut mixture, he's not just making breakfast. He's making a choice about the kind of mind he'll have tomorrow, next year, and in the decades to come. You have that same choice available to you right now. What will you decide? Final message. Before you go, I want you to truly understand the power you hold. Cognitive decline is not an inevitable sentence. It's a pathway influenced by countless daily choices, including powerful nutritional decisions like the ones we discuss today. If you or someone you love is concerned about brain health with aging, remember that implementation beats information every time. Don't just consume this video and move on. Take one concrete step today, even if it's as simple as removing cashews from your pantry or adding 7 walnuts to tomorrow's breakfast. The journey of cognitive healing and protection happens one day, one meal, one nut at a time. Your brain is listening to every choice you make. Choose to nourish it intentionally, consistently, and with the specific foods it needs most as you age. The difference between cognitive struggle and cognitive clarity often comes down to these seemingly small but biochemically powerful choices. Your future self is being created by your present actions. Choose wisely with the knowledge you now have.